This is Louie, and if you want to support my channel, head on over to Play Asia. If you don't want to support me there, head on over to J-List. Thank you for supporting my channel, and be sure to look out for new content. All the links can be found in the description.
So this is Louie, and it might sound a little bit different. I imagine my microphone doesn't, but you might hear echoes in the background, or you might hear my furnace kick in at some point, because I'm now living in my new house. My house, actually. A house I own. That's where I've been for the past few days. And I appreciate your patience in, me trying to become a homeowner and cracking open that low-calorie monster, whatever it is. And I'm going to do a video sometime when it's not the winter, spring or summer, where I'm going to have to go out and buy a lawnmower. And I'm going to go out and buy a monster, and I'm going to do a video where I crack open that white monster while I'm on, the back of a lawnmower. Just for the sake of the humor of it. I'm just going to post it on Twitter. But for now, I want to talk about this controversy that many of you have messaged me about, because it's many things in one. This is a beautiful story. I'm going to try not to make this 40 minutes long, because if I do, it's never going to come out. But it's about harassment in Overwatch, in the pro community of Overwatch. So this is many stories in one. And I'm going to make sure I put out this tweet from Felicia Day, who I can't stand, is the epitome of an opportunist gamer girl. And in many ways, this is like, I don't know if I really, maybe I should make Felicia Day. No, it'll be a catfish and Felicia Day. That'll be the header image, the thumbnail that I use for this video. It's Felicia Day and a catfish, because that encapsulates what this story is about, which is the fact that pro gaming is gay. And I say that akin to the way that I used to speak when I was in high school, where it was popular to refer to things as being gay or calling somebody a faggot, that kind of jargon. Because back in the day, 08, 09, 2010, 2011, when I was playing in a very serious capacity, Call of Duty, APB when it first came out, there were a few games that I played with friends, a group of friends, very seriously. And it was the serious kind of doing call-outs and learning each other's strengths and, backing each other up and doing all the things, helping somebody so that they can get their kill streak so that we can win the game, doing things like that in a very serious capacity. We're all in Ventrilo back when that was the hot shit, and we're playing very seriously and getting very angry, and it was a different era for myself, and I look upon it fondly, and I look upon the friends that I had back then, who I still have to some degree, although we don't really speak to one another just because we're all doing our own things now. I look back at that period of my life fondly, but here's the thing. We all saw esports, Major League Gaming, as gay. We all saw it as gay, except for one guy who did like scrimming of some kind. He was the only guy that didn't think it was objectively gay, something that no one wanted associated with themselves and that everyone mocked. There was a meme on YouTube that lasted for about a year, and this might have been a few years ago now, and I'll have to look it up to showcase what it was, because I can't quite remember offhand, but it was a big YouTube thing. And it's where people like, I think, Dolan Dark and a few other people came from. That one Russian guy who I can't remember the name of, it's where his channel came from. These people, a bunch of people came from just mocking Major League Gaming. It was this big meme for a while, and I really liked it. I thought it was funny as hell, and I thought it was very creative, and I liked it a lot. And it encapsulated in a very short way why no one takes esports seriously, why everyone dislikes it. Until now, apparently, where it's a big deal. A lot of people do take it seriously for some reason. Maybe it's the younger generation, I don't know. But I've always seen it as nothing but a meme and never liked it. And that's still true today. I think it's stupid. And I can tell you that Overwatch, not to really get too sidetracked here, but Overwatch is nothing but month-old bread. Not even stale, month-old. We're talking, you bought the bread, The expiration date was already pretty close, but you're like, I can get away with it. You put it in your cabinet, your pantry, and you forgot about it. And you find it a month later, and it's disgusting, it's melting, it's moldy. That is Overwatch. It is beyond stale. It is disgusting and moldy. I have no idea why anyone sees this as anything other than as a dead meme. It is popular among people that make that 3D porn because it has a handful of waifus in it. But outside of that, I have no idea why anyone looks at Overwatch and gives a shit. They just made Soldier 76. Did they make him gay or bi? I can't even remember whether they made him gay or bi. They just made him gay or bi. Who gives a shit? Who cares? You know, I get that, you know, this is another front in the culture war, but who the hell is still playing Overwatch? Who? I mean, I don't get it. People wanted this to be the next Team Fortress 2. It's not. It is not the next Team Fortress 2. It wanted to be that. It died a few months after it came out. This is not Rainbow Six Siege. This is not Fortnite. This is not a game that had a small beginning and then grew and grew and grew. No, bro, Overwatch is held up by esports. That's the only reason why anyone cares still. It has nothing else going for it. That's what I want to say about Overwatch. I know that it's another front in the fucking culture war. I don't care. Because goddamn is this game sitting on the shelf and melting. Bro, throw it out. Put it in the garbage. Take that garbage bag outside and put it in the can. It is disgusting. Get it out of the house. That's my opinion of Overwatch. But to the issue at hand, what happened was a gamer, a esports player by the name of Punisher, that is his pseudonym that he goes by. He wanted to either do a prank or I don't know. It's unclear as far as I can tell what exactly motivated him to do this, because it required a decent amount of effort on his part. Like, he had to shop around to find the catfish, the girl. He had to shop around to find her, and that's what ultimately did him in. Was, I believe, one of the girls that he asked told everyone that this is what he was doing. So Punisher found a girl to catfish for him, and while she sat next to him, he played the game. And the basis of why this became a story was that the character he played, Ellie, got brought on to, let me find the name of the team, the esports team. Second Wind, I believe, is the name of the esports, competitive team that she got brought onto. She got brought onto that team, and she became a major player within the Overwatch professional players league, whatever. And so people started to dig into her. They wanted to find out who she was. People started saying that she's a catfish, that she's catfishing, that it's actually a dude playing, and that it's not actually a woman. And so from that, a lot of people started claiming that, oh my god, Overwatch has a toxic player base, and this is a big thing. This is a big narrative. It's one of the reasons why Blizzard keeps cracking down more and more on their own community, is because of press demand. This is a big demand by the press that Overwatch has a toxic player base, therefore crack down more and more, and Blizzard has been obliging. I have covered this in the past, but they are incredibly censorious. They are completely draconian in their policies around behavior, player conduct. They're ridiculous. But it is directly related to the press. They are the ones demanding this. So a big story came out from Kotaku, and coincidentally enough from Nathan Grayson. It got 500,000 views, over 500,000 views. This story came out a week or so ago, and it was pushing the narrative once again that this Overwatch Pro is being harassed. And the issue is that this is another front in the culture war. This is another gamers are bad, fuck the gamers are dead, and women can't get into games. Now, as I've talked about in numerous points in the past, shooters, especially competitive shooters, are not the domain of females. If you look at the statistics, they are a fringe group within competitive shooters. And I would imagine that among competitive shooters in terms of esports, they are nearly non-existent. I imagine, and I don't know this, I imagine that most of the real deal competitive players that are female are fucking foreign. They're probably Japanese, Korean, Chinese. They're probably all Asians. Even if they're Western, I imagine that the majority are Asians as well. Now, I'm going to look forward to people laughing in the comment section and saying, oh, Louis, typing this out, oh, Louis, you're right, they're all Asian. Yeah, because there were Asian back in the day. Back in 2009, 2010, 2011, they're all Asian back then too. I can't imagine it's any different now. So this girl, Ellie, was a catfish. I'm going to save you the long version of this and just say, here's a tweet by Felicia Day. What do you think this was about? What do you think it was about? We've all seen this before. We've all heard this before. But the fact is, this was just a catfishing attempt from another player. And he got everybody. He got all the members of the press. And what I can do for you is showcase to you all of the One Angry Gamer articles that were done mocking the members of the press. Whether it was day one, they all got this wrong. They all fell for it. They were all pushing this narrative because they all wanted to believe and they didn't care. They were all wrong. They're all fake news. And then there were several more articles basically where people were doubling down saying, well, despite the fact that this was catfishing, there's still a problem. Oh, women, gamers and gamers are dead and all the rest of it. None of this is new. None of this is anything that you haven't heard before. This is probably the worst iteration of catfishing that I've come across. I mean, maybe there's one out there that's even worse where a guy's like in bed with a woman and then realized it was a dude. But in gaming, this is about as bad as I've ever seen because this is just the press pouncing on an issue, overreacting, pushing a narrative, all the parasites coming out of the woodwork to once again take the opportunity to shit on gaming. And the thing is that there's a whole other issue here, and I don't really want to get into the culture war aspect of this. I really don't, because it's parasites like Felicia Day, like all of these game journos, and all the other people that are involved. All the people in that camp that believe in the narrative, that push the narrative, that have made this narrative mainstream, and that have Activision Blizzard, bending the knee every single day of the week, trying to accommodate these people as much as they can, banning their own customers, censoring their own customers, doing everything to push their customers away and to kill off their own successful game. There's no reason for me to reiterate all this. There's no reason for me to once again explain why this is killing gaming, why all of these people are wrong. They're wrong in their face. It's just the narrative. The statistics that I can show you have never changed since 2008, since 1990. These statistics have not changed. The only thing that's changed has been the inclusion of women in something like WoW, where you have 500-pound women that sit home on disability all day playing that game. That's the only exception to the rule. Everything else has stayed exactly the same. And if there's been any difference, it's been marginal. It's been within a few percentage points. And that is it. Women play games as they exist, not in terms of how they would like them to be. And oftentimes, I find that female gamers don't like the changes being made to supposedly accommodate them. That has been my personal experience. There's been no polling to that effect to actually find out how women feel about this outside of bullshit. Outside of you just ask women, not female hardcore gamers. Because I would imagine they wouldn't care. They like games how they are. You ask women on the street, yeah, they're going to say, oh, gamers are gross and they're all these nerd misogynists. Yeah, I'm sure if you ask non-gamers, they're going to have a negative opinion of gamers. But if you ask female gamers, they're going to tell you that they're fine with the games as they are. The reason there's no polling to that effect is because it disrupts the narrative that's been mainstream in gaming for over a decade now. Over a decade, this has been mainstream to say that, there's sexism in gaming, misogyny in gaming, that game companies need to do more and more to accommodate the female gamers. But as I've said many times, and I'm not going to even point to the statistics because I've done so many times in the past and there's no point, who the people are playing female characters, female avatars? Men, more times than not. Anything that's male-dominated and there's female avatars in the game, they're being played by men. Because that's who's playing the game. Men, not women. Some women are playing those games, but oftentimes it's 10% or less of the player base. Most is 33. That's the top, outside of something like WoW. So 33 and down. And the more competitive it is, the less it gets. The more laid back, simulation games, that sort of thing, MMOs, it goes up. Then you get to 33%. But the more competitive and demanding and fast-paced that it is, the less women that play it. And that has been demonstrated multiple times to such a point that the ESA and other organizations that point to those statistics, they hide their data set. They hide their information. Where they're drawing these so-called statistics from. They hide it. The other organizations that actually provide credible numbers, they don't hide their numbers. They actually present them to you to look for yourself because there's no reason to hide them because those are the actual statistics. They aren't statistics that have been created to push a narrative. So going back to the actual topic at hand, this streamer, who may or may not be a competitive player, Aspen, she's the one that blew Punisher in terms of him doing this. And the reason is, as far as I can tell, that she was one of the people that was asked by Punisher to be his catfish, to voice his character Ellie. And she was in touch with him, and she was aware that this was going on, and so she leaked it on a stream by saying that this had gotten bigger than she had imagined it would because of the whole misogyny in gaming story and this girl, this character Ellie, being brought onto an actual esports team, and that being a controversy in its own sake because she's so unknown, or the character was at the time. This story ended with egg on everyone's face, but the thing is that, like the story of the Young Turks pushing the idea that a white supremacist had killed a little girl in a car in a drive-by, the actual story is something that doesn't forward a certain narrative, rather than address the fact that this story exists because you are biased, you're pushing a narrative, you want this to be true, and so you are doing everything to try to make it seem true, rather than actually look into whether it is true or not, or wait for the details to come out, or do some investigative work for yourself to see if it's actually true. These people just buried everything. There's little to no acknowledgement from any of these people that their bias and their politics is what made this an actual story, and that it's, only the first few days of 2019, and yet now we have this story that should be carried till the end of the year. This is a story that should be kept up and should be used as a club, as a weapon in the culture war to say, fruitlessly, honestly, that there are two sides in the culture war. And despite how many people want to say, oh, they're both equally evil, and oh man, the people that don't like SJWs are so cringy, don't you just want to dismiss them and embrace the SJWs who own every company in the industry? You can just say, oh, well, at least we don't have to make up stories where you have a catfish sitting on a pedestal. Although I like my idea of Felicia Day and a catfish, because I think, like I said, that encapsulates this so perfectly. This is just another instance of the other side, the SJWs and their allies, those on that side of the war. They're liars. They double down on lies. They're pushing lies for the sake of their own politics and their own bias. They never apologize for lying, for pushing lies, for pushing fake news. They never will, because this to them is a culture war. They are totalitarians. They will not stop. They'll never go away. The only way people like Felicia Day will go away, the only way is when the money dries up. That's when she leaves, is when the money dries up. And she did. And so did Anita. But so long as these people are given any deference whatsoever, especially by the companies, they'll be around. They'll be around. The same goes for comics and all the other industries and fandoms and hobbies that they are in. They'll be around so long as they are given deference. But the only way that they're ever going to go away is either people stop listening to them, the industry turns their back on them, or the industry dies. Those are the two options, in my opinion. The companies get woke and go broke. Seemingly, several are at this point. Activision Blizzard isn't in a good position right now, although people are saying it's temporary. And so are many different companies, including EA, which I did a script, but it's probably not going to come out because I think it would be too controversial on EA. But they are in dire straits right now. Out of all these different companies, I think that they are doing the worst. And I can tell you that based on the stock sell-offs. It's not just their stock is performing poorly. It's that people are just divesting from the company. And if that continues, that company's done because it heavily relies on investment. Heavily. It's one of the biggest companies in the industry, and it is just multi-million-dollar projects. That's all it does at this point. And that requires constant influx of new investment. And without it, you don't have a company. It's not like a AA company, like CD Projekt Red, or any of the other ones, that company that did Frostpunk. It's not like an indie company that can perform based on its own profit. It requires constant investment, a constant influx of outside revenue for it to stand. Because even if it's making billions of dollars, it's with that influx of investment. If it's forced to rely on just profit alone, or more so on profit alone, for its own projects, it's going to have to start cheapening the projects. You're going to have to start lowering the budgets of these games because you have to make a profit. You have to make a wide profit to attract more investors so that you can cut them a big dividend. And if you're still cutting them big dividends as they were this year and last year and the year before, and yet investors are still pulling out and divesting from the company to the tune of tens of millions of dollars in several instances just for one person, that's not good. That's your company dying. Not because investment is the sole thing. You know, there's private companies. But those companies are already factoring in their profit. Companies like EA, they're already factoring in profit, their influx of new investment, and then spending that money. That's how these corporations work. They're already spending the money that they assume that they project is going to come in. And I think that that's one of the reasons why these investors are pulling out, is that they're failing to meet those expectations. So if you're failing to meet the expectations that you're already spending on, your company isn't going to last long, because that's exactly what fucking Telltale is doing. Overspending and relying on past hits. But anyways, to me, that's I got sidetracked there. I'll just end the video here by saying that here's a club for everyone in the culture war. Here's another club. If somebody says some bullshit about women in gaming or harassment in gaming or women have it hard in gaming, just send them a tweet that's a picture of a catfish and it has, in quotations, Ellie. And that's all you have to send them. You don't have to send them anything else, just a catfish with Ellie as the name of the catfish. That's all you have to send them. Because like I said, as it relates to Call of Duty, Overwatch, any competitive shooter, women are a fringe group, and they're always going to be a fringe group. No matter how much you accommodate them, no matter how much you censor chat, no matter how much you just avoid having voice over IP, all you want, just avoid having it. You're still going to have these complaints from biased journos who are going to push this narrative regardless of whether it's true or not, for the sake of being the fucking shock troops in the culture war. They're not going away, and the best thing for the industry to do would be to just ignore them, but they're not. Every company in the industry, practically every single one, is catering to these people. And the best that we can do in this is just say that these people are liars. They're totalitarians. You can never appease them. If you give them what they want, they're just going to demand more. And it's a culture war. And these people aren't buying your fucking games. The gamers that hate these people are. They're the ones buying your games. Even as bad as they are at this point. But I'll leave it there. Thanks for listening. Tear me apart, watch it burn.